In this tutorial we're going to show you how to upload Joomla from your local host to your web server. Basically we need to do some changes on your control panel. The first thing you need to do is you need to create the infrastructure where you want to upload your website basically. So number one, we're going to create a subdomain and a directory where we will upload our new Joomla site. We can see it's going to be in public HTML in the Joomla 3D directory, and that has been created. The second thing which we need to create is the database for Joomla. So we go to the MySQL database wizard for our hosting server, and we create a new database. So we'll name the new database Joomla 3D as well. And in our hosting server we need to create also a database username and a database password, which is different. So we will now create a database username, a database name, J3Demo in this case, and we generate a strong password for it. So this is the password which we'll be using. We generate a password and we use that one. You'll need to take note of these passwords obviously and the usernames which you have created, so because later on we will be using them to put them in the configuration file of Joomla. So we're taking note of these credentials. So the database name, the database username and the database password. And now we create the user, and that is the user created. We'll now need to assign the newly created database username to the newly created database for Joomla. So here we're setting the credentials, we're setting the permissions, we're going to give it all privileges. This is something which you probably will need to change after you launch your website. So that is the username also added to the database. The next thing we need to do now is we need to check that obviously the directory which you have created has been uploaded to the server. We connect to the hosting server with our FTP credentials, and here we can check that the Joomla 3D directory has been created. So that part has been done. So the next thing which we need to do is we need to upload all the files which we have developed for Joomla. This is done by going to the directory which you have used to create your Joomla, so where you have developed your Joomla locally, and you need to zip all the files within the directory into a specific archive which will then be uploading to the web server. So now that you've basically, if you put in templates or extensions etc., all of these are going to be in this zip file which will then be uploaded basically. Obviously this might take a little bit for it to complete, so in the meantime we'll be doing some other things, including importing the database. But before importing database, we're actually going to upload the file which we just have created into the hosting websites. So right now we took the Joomla 3D file and uploaded it to the directory which we have created, so which is the Joomla 3D. Now whilst that is uploading, what we're going to do is we're actually going to export the Joomla database and import it into our hosting server. So the first thing which we need to do is we need to go to the local PHP myadmin, and export the database which we have been creating whilst we were creating obviously our Joomla website. So we find the database which we need to export. In our case it's the Joomla 3 database. You don't need to do any changes, basically the default settings are fine. So we go to the database, we select the Joomla 3 database, we go to the export button, we click on the export button, and that will create our file with all the data in the database, basically including the creation of tables, etc, etc. The next thing we do the next thing we need to do is actually import that database into our newly created database. So import that database into the phpMyAdmin of the hosting server. So we'll go back to the hosting server. We'll find phpMyAdmin in the hosting server. Once phpMyAdmin has loaded, we can import our exported file to the hosting server. So find the file which we have exported, joomla3.sql, and we don't need to do any other changes to the file, so leave everything as it is and press go to import it. So we look like we have some kind of error. Let's check what it is. We didn't select the database, so let's go ahead and just select the database and repeat same procedure. We can see that the tables are actually empty. We go to the import again. We can see that now it's importing into the Joomla 3 demo. So select the file again. No need to do any other changes. You can see that we're importing into Joomla 3 demo file, and we import. You can immediately see that queries have run, the tables have been created, so this should be okay. We can go quickly through the content to check that it's been imported correctly. So this, as we can see some of the articles. If we go to the modules, we can actually see a number of modules which were available in the local Joomla which we were uploading, so you can check them. You can go to the local phpMyAdmin and see that all the tables are actually the same, the content is actually the same, the modules are actually the same, and we can see that they're fine. At least they look fine, so it should, most of the times this should be okay. Now right now we're right on time for the upload of the files to actually be completed, so we can do the next steps. You can see that the Joomla 3 file has now been uploaded. Now what we need to do is we need to actually extract those files. So we go to the file archiver or the file manager on our hosting server. We open the directory which we have created. And you can see the Joomla 3 file has been uploaded, and now we just extract those files into this same database basically. So we're simply expanding those files. Those files have now been expanded, and if we reload, we can see all of the files have been actually extracted. You can delete the original joomla.zip file because you don't need it anymore. And now we need to start doing some changes to the configuration file basically, and this is the final thing which we will need to do mostly. There are a number of things which we will need to do. We'll see them one by one. So if you refresh here in the FTP client, you'll see that there are all the files. We need to change the configuration.php file to have the new details obviously of the hosting server rather than the local ones. So we upload those, we open the configuration file. In the meantime, let's check whether the website actually works. So we go to Joomla wire Joomla 3 demo, and we can see that there's an error. The error actually is because we need to enable Joomla 5.3.1. However, this is very easy. We just need to add a directive in the ht.access file. So we'll get it from another copy of a live website which we have right now, and we'll put it in the ht.access file of the uploaded website. This is something which you shouldn't need to do in most cases if your hosting server actually supports PHP 3 by default. In our case, we're going to rename the ht.access file, add the directive by editing the ht.access file using FTP. We upload the ht.access file. We go back to the website to check that it's fine, and we can see that now there's no error about PHP 3, but obviously it's not working because the configuration data and details have not been changed. So let's start changing those. The first one we need to change is the name of the database server, which is actually hosting our database. In our case, it's called Gator3165. This is obviously something which is very specific to your hosting server, so find that out and insert it instead of the local host. The next thing we need to do is the name, the database name, the database username basically. So the database username is actually .tart j3 demo, and the next thing is the password which we have created. So put the password in there, and the third thing is the name of the actual database. So we copy that too. The database prefix does not need to be changed because during the import it was created in the same way. The last two things which we need to do are the lock path and the temp path. Now these are something which are also very they're very different depending on the hosting server. So this is something which you need to find from your hosting server. For our case, we're going to get it from another live website. So we're going to get those paths from a live website, and we're just doing a small change for the current directory. So we're going to copy them from an existing one. We replace them. Instead of Joomla 3, we put Joomla 3 demo, and the same thing goes for the TMP path. We put Joomla 3 demo. We save the file. We upload the file to Joomla 3 demo, and now we should be done. So that's mostly it, and we now need to test our website. We refresh, and that's it. So you can see that the website which we had locally has now been updated. In fact, now our IP is the real IP. There's the modules which we had implemented, and there's mostly everything.